Alrighty, g'day everybody, it's the Dark Guy. It's time for another music collection update. Mostly within the last month or so since I last did one of these, I've managed to grab me a pretty decent amount of cassette tapes that I'm going to show to you right now, with quite a number of artists lined up here. Let's start, of course, with AC/DC. Got 4 new cassettes of theirs. Mostly these ones date to 1989. This is 1989 reissue of High Voltage. As you can see on the back, different cover, everything, just about. And this particular version doesn't turn up very often. Manufactured by CBS. Much like the CDs and stuff that I also own as well. Okay, also from that lot is Let There Be Rock, from the same series again. Also have this version on CD. The 45th anniversary of the original release is coming up later this month, so be sure to check out the planned video on the 45th anniversary of Let There Be Rock, showcasing all copies of that when I get there later this month. Okay, up next we have a copy of Flick of the Switch. Again, these 1989 cassettes are a little harder to find because people were starting to move on to CDs around this time. CDs themselves will also go for insane prices on eBay. I'm dumb enough to having to pay as cheaply as possible. I try to find the cheapest price possible for these things. And also, the last of the AC/DC ones here is, of course, from the same series, Fly on the Wall. The mastering of this cassette is also used for the 1995 CD as well. It does sound pretty good in my opinion. Alrighty, that's that one. Now we move on to another iconic Aussie band, the Angels. I'm sure if you're a regular viewer on this channel, you'll have seen my showcase of the LPs and previously the cassettes that I did have. This is the original 1979 cassette of the Angels' third album, No Exit. The text is a bit worn off, but this is the original cassette with the black text. Shame it's a bit worn now. My dad did have one of these many years ago, but unfortunately it broke on him, which is a shame. That was before my time though, at least that's what he told me anyway. Definitely a great album. If you haven't heard it, be sure to check it out on YouTube. This is their 1983 album, Watch the Red. Shown here, the artwork is printed sideways due to it being quite large. Okay, didn't notice the Dolby logo on the bottom left-hand corner there. This, I think, is a reissue because it's a clear case, much like the AC/DC ones I just showed. So this one probably dates to the late 80s or so. The original would have been probably a white or a beige coloured cassette with different print on it. But either way, that's the version that I was able to obtain. And these are going to fall over. And this is the Angels' Greatest Volume 2. From 1985, this was put out after the Angels had left the Epic CBS label to go on the Mushroom Records. And so, Epic put out this compilation much like Albert's did as well. And this is the original cassette, from what I can tell. The original release of Watch the Red would probably have a shell similar to this one. CBS Super Sound cassette. That's not too bad. Definitely got some good songs on it. It's a shame the album's been out of print since probably the 1990s, but I guess it's rather redundant now, to be honest. And moving on to the Angels 1986 studio album, Howling. My mum did have this on cassette a long time ago now, but unfortunately the cassette itself still exists, but it no longer has its cover, and when I got me filthy little hands on it, I ended up taping over it with AC/DC of all things. This version here has gold text, whereas my mother's copy had black text, so it's possible that both versions may have existed at the same time for all I know. So that in a way is essentially a replacement for my mum's copy, and that also applies with the next one in this collection, Beyond Salvation. Also from 1990, this one. Again, we used to have a copy of this one, but unfortunately the tape snapped off the reel at the beginning. The leader snapped off the reel, and we did try to repair it, but unfortunately it didn't repair very well. As you can see, Love Waits is 2 spots earlier than what it is on the CD. I do have the CD, and I did show it off. At least I think I did. When I talked about my favourite Angels songs. Again, you can find that video elsewhere on the channel. I'm not going to show the entire cover because it is quite large. Anyway, that's the Angels. Let's now move on to another iconic Aussie band, of course, Chisel. I'm sure you've heard me talk about them on the channel before. Be sure to check out my videos on them, LPs and CDs and stuff, as well as my favourite songs of theirs. This is a copy of their first album on cassette from 1978. Interesting, the spine shows a WEA logo, which would indicate that this is a reissue. I don't think I've seen a copy that has the correct label on it or not. But if you look at the cassette shell, it has the Atlantic label, which makes me think that somebody may have forgotten to update the label, or the cassette sleeve, or J-card, or whatever. Oh, hang on, I've just noticed that now. Okay, so the side 1 label wasn't updated, but the side 2 one was, because it does have WEA. So I'm guessing this is a reissue from somewhere between 1980 and 1982, the best guess. Because we know that the first Cold Chisel album came out on Atlantic, and the second one came out on Elektra before going on to WEA for East in 1980. Here's Cold Chisel's 1981 live album, Swing Shift. Double play cassette, which basically means both sides of one LP is on side 1 and both sides of the second LP are on side 2. As you can see, the track listing here. From what I can tell, this is also a reissue. I'm guessing this one probably dates to the mid-1980s at best guess. The original probably has a paper label. Definitely one of the best live albums of the 1980s, although I think I prefer the 2011 reissue, because it has 4 extra tracks not on the original release. Up next is 1983 Cold Chisel album, 20th Century. Not their best album, but unfortunately things were going downhill. It's possible this might be the original release as well. Yeah, I'm not 100% certain, because I've very rarely seen stuff online about this. So yeah, it's possible that the reissue that I have of the first album might possibly date to around 83, 84 at best guess. Anyway, next one from the Cold Chisel lot is their 1987-1988 compilation album Razer Songs, which was a follow-up to their 1985 compilation Radio Songs. Again, check my LP collection video elsewhere on the channel. Sorry if I'm promoting myself too much. I'm guessing this is probably the only cassette of this album available. I don't know if there was any reissue on a clear case or not. So this definitely has to date to 88, making it the original. Also owned both those albums on CD. And of course, Cold Chisels' 1998 comeback album, The Last Wave of Summer. Yes, the album does contain explicit language. Two of the songs on here, Mr. Crown Prosecutor and Pretty Little Thing, do have some minor swears in them. But that's about it, really. Again, this has got a rather large album cover that I don't intend on showing off because I'm just trying to get through this. So let's look at the cassette shell itself. Again, typical 1990s clear cassette shell. This being the original version of the album, there's quite a number of songs missing from the more common version of the album that exists today. I haven't played this cassette yet, so I don't know if it has the hidden track, which was Once Around the Sun, which was eventually given a proper addition to the album a few years later. So I don't know if that was exclusive to the CD or not. Anyway, last of this lot is the Beatles. Of course, by now I've shown off a lot of the stuff I have of theirs. Just recently acquired a number of them, about 7 cassettes actually. Let's start with their 1963-64 album with the Beatles, with the awkward Australian front cover. I don't mind this cover, but I think I prefer the UK one actually. And I don't blame the late legendary John Lennon for not liking it either. I mean, unfortunately some of these cassettes are in a bit average condition. If you can look at this, as you can see, it's rather cracked. What I can tell, some of these reissues date to 1981 at best guess. Because of the cracked shell, I don't intend on playing it. So it probably wouldn't work. And we also have Revolver. Again, this one's in pretty average condition as well. Take a look at this. This is pretty badly warped. There is no way that this can be played properly. Unless one was to take the tape out and put it in a fresh case. I mean, it's... Just look how cracked this is. I don't know if it's possible to actually repair the warp and the case itself and then stitch it back together. So this is most likely unplayable. As you can see, there's a typo with the George Harrison written "Love You Too." It should only be spelled T-O instead of that way. I don't know why I'm just spelled that way for some reason. Okay, dating from the mid to late 80s or so. Axis label reissue of the 1966 compilation, a collection of Beatles Oldies. It's a shame this album was completely deleted after the 1987 reissues, but I guess that's the way it's meant to be. Got some good songs, of course. Okay, again we have another broken Beatles cassette. I've accidentally left one behind. Whoops. Oh dear, this is turning out to be an awkward video. Oh, goodness gracious, everything's going out of control at the moment here. Either way, we have a copy of Yellow Submarine. Again, apologies for the blurry. And this one, unfortunately, it's got its pad loose, and again the case down the bottom is rather cracked, so this is most likely well and truly unplayable, which is a shame though. But really, the only good reason to get this album in the first place is for Hey Bulldog. Because, I mean, All You Need Is Love, and of course Yellow Submarine people would have already had at the time. Hang on, I need to get the tape that I accidentally left behind. Okay, the one that I accidentally missed is this one. Abbey Road. And there goes the iPad again. Oh dear, this is turning out to be an absolute mess of a video, this one. But yes, Abbey Road here. This one's in slightly better shape. The tape had actually snapped off the starter reel, but managed to get it attached to a replacement reel, so the reels unfortunately aren't the same colour. Had to use one of my other broken cassettes to get it stitched onto a fresh reel, because the attachment to the reel had completely snapped off entirely. Anyway, hopefully everything will go right for these last 4 cassettes I have here. From what I can tell, these could be the original cassette releases in Australia of the Beatles 1962 to 66 compilation. This is cassette 1. Not 100% certain about this particular label style. Could be the original, but it could also be dated to the latter part of the decade. It did actually come with some extra paper labels, but I've got them kept safe elsewhere. So this is essentially a hybrid of both paper and print at the same time. Anyway, we have cassette 2 as well. Cassette 2 here. Again, apologies for the blurry. And the stupid iPad just does it anyway. Let's hope I don't knock this stupid iPad over for a 3rd time. I mean, everything's a mess. Either way, the last 2 tapes are the Beatles Rock and Roll Music Volumes 1 and 2, as shown here. Again, these are the late 80s reissues. Cassette 1, side 1 here. Again, apologies for the blurriness. It just does that. No matter how hard I try to fix it in the settings, it just does it anyway. It's just extreme pain in the butt. And cassette 2 is here. Again, apologies for the blurriness, but it's the second cassette. It's a shame this double album was never given a CD release either, because it's definitely some of the best material that they recorded. At least that's what I think. I mean, it's not all of their best songs, but it's some of my favourites. Either way, that's the end of the video. Apologies for everything going wrong in the middle there. Be sure to leave a like and comment down below, and if you're new to the channel, subscribe. But that's up to you, if you wish to subscribe. If you don't wish to, then don't bother. But until next time, this is the Dog saying have a great week, everybody. Stay safe where you are, and we shall see you again.